We're in the middle of spring now, and we seem to have the worst of the weather behind us for the last couple of weeks. I'd usually be out in the flats a little bit earlier in the season, but we had a funny old winter where it was pretty much an extended autumn all the way till about August, and then winter really hit. Anyway, this is one of my favourite times of year to hit the flats. The sessions seem to be a little bit more quieter than during the summer, but I find that I usually get a better quality of fish. So the size is usually a little bit bigger, but you got to put in a few casts. They're still pretty docile as well, so you almost need to get the lure over the top of the head. Here I'm just fishing this little bit of a weedy drop off. So I'm at the end of the beachy section of this flats, and there's broken weed and a bit of a drop off here, so I'm just casting over the top of it and then along the side of it. So I've got my 2500 Stradic with my TD Zero 2 to 5 kilo, so it's a 7'6", so I've got a decent length on it on the flats, and when I'm wading out this far, this type of rod I can still just use my landing net, whereas I found with the 8'6" rod it's perfect for the flats, but when I'm wading out really far it's a little bit tricky to land fish without high sticking. So I tend to just use the 8'6" rod when I'm fishing closer to shore where I can just bank them. So I'm just slow rolling and double hopping a prawn imitation, one of the Rapala, the Imposter prawns. I've got a size 2.0 1/12, I think it is. It's either 1/12 or 1/8 jig head, and I'm just slowly hopping it back. The blowies are a little bit less savage this time of year, so I try to use plastics in the first part of spring before it becomes almost impossible in the summer when they're in plague proportions. Having said that, there was still a few around here. If you've got nice light braid like I'm using, so I've just got the 8-pound braid, which is enough, strong enough to land decent fish, but light enough where I can feel the blowy bites. So when you know it's not a real bite and it's a blowy, usually it's that sort of like machine gun, woody woodpecker sort of bites that you get. If you start getting that, just reel your plastic in faster. It's not worth getting your tail chopped off. The bar-tailed flathead that I'm chasing here have a pretty soft bite, to be honest. They sort of take a soft bite and then they really only fight hard once they realise they're hooked. Here you can see there's a big ray here which has buried himself in the sand. I only noticed him because his big barb was hanging out the back. He looked like a rock from distance. You see how big he is after I'm splashing over the top of him here. Off he goes. Big fella. Not something you want to stand on. Good reason to wear polarised sunnies. Nearly stepped on a nice flatty here. So when you spook a flatty, it gives you a bit of good intel of where they're sitting. So this one was sitting probably about 4 to 5 meters back from this drop off here, and the other thing is often when you spook them you can still catch them again. So it was about this far back from the bank, so what I'm going to do is cast along that line from the drop off, just hoping that there's another few sitting at the same distance back, or even just catch the same one that got spooked. Often when you spook them they're only going to go up about 10-20 meters and then stop again. So sometimes if you know what direction they swam or you saw them swim away, give it a few seconds for them to settle and then cast over the top of them. Either way, I think the main point is just casting along the line of where you see them, because it gives you a bit of an indication of how deep they're sitting in the water. Usually you'll spook a couple of them as well, and then you sort of get a real good idea of where they're sitting along the bank. Beautiful. I saw this one take as well. It was only just in front of my feet, so he snuck up to it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same one I spooked. Either way, it was along that line of where the other one was sitting at least. Here I forgot I had a landing net, so I'm starting to walk back to the bank. Then I realised I had it. Tried to scoop him. He was still a bit green. I had to drag probably a bit tight. Made a meal of it. Luckily I was using one of those 2.0 jig heads where once they're hooked they're pretty hard to shake out. Not a bad little chunk to start the season. He would have been a great eating fish, but it was his lucky day. I only had a little quick window to go out and flick. I cast it around here for probably about another 20 minutes and I spooked a few more, and then I saw probably, I don't know, more rays than I've ever seen. It was a good about 6 or 7 rays. Either way, it was nice to be on the board. Thanks for watching. For more Flathead videos, please subscribe.